Electric vehicles. Apparently, these days you can't launch one without everybody asking the same overused question. Is it a Tesla killer? Like, here's a really cool electric pickup truck, but is it a Tesla killer? Or here's a really nice sleek electric sedan, but is it a Tesla killer? Or here's this really fancy looking SUV, but is it a Tesla killer? And I'm not entirely innocent either. I mean, it's very easy to just ride on a name that everybody recognizes. So naturally, when Porsche sent me to Singapore to check out their first all-electric vehicle, I couldn't help but wonder, was it a Tesla killer? But after spending some time in the brand new Porsche Taycan, I realized that it's definitely not a Tesla killer. That's because I think it's in a league of its own. Okay, first let me get some disclaimers out of the way. So Porsche didn't actually let me drive the Taycan, and I don't personally own like a Tesla Model S or whatever, but I did get to spend some time in the Taycan on the show floor after I was done elbowing myself through the crowd, and I have some thoughts. I've also followed a lot of the coverage around Tesla and its exploits because as a car and tech fan, Tesla just fits right in. But to me, Tesla's never really felt like a car. They've always felt more like a tech product on wheels. Kind of like a self-propelled cheese grater Mac Pro. And I feel that it's this difference in feel that really separates a Tesla from the Taycan, because the Taycan feels very much like a car. And I think there's no better place to illustrate this point than when you get inside a Taycan. On the inside of a Tesla Model 3, for example, it looks unlike any other road-going car. That's because the dashboard is barren. There's no instrument cluster, there are no knobs, there are no dials. The only significant design feature is the steering wheel and the big tablet thing that's mounted in the middle stuck to the dashboard. And I kind of dig how refreshing that looks. In the Taycan, it's a whole nother story. It's absolutely like what the interior of a car usually looks like. The biggest difference is that all the dials and knobs and stuff have been replaced by an assortment of screens. There's one for the instrument cluster, one for the center console, one for the passenger side, and one just in the middle. So if you ask me whether I prefer the look of a set of screens like these versus one big tablet stuck to the dash, I'd pick the big tablet. That being said, the reason this layout is the way it is because Porsche designed this to be a driver-focused car. And in a way, that makes sense. Everything is where you expect it to be, and each screen does its own thing, so controls are all easily accessible. You don't need to relearn how to use a car because it's a very similar experience. On top of that, the inside of the Porsche is very posh, for lack of a better word. There is gorgeous stitching holding the premium materials together, and everything I touched felt expensive and well put together, which is always a good feeling. Oh, and did I mention the fact that I love the single analog-ish clock that Porsche left ticking away on the Taycan's dashboard? That's easily one of my favorite things about this interior. Well, that and the low-slung race car driving position. Oh, and if we're on the topic of what I like about the Taycan, I have to talk about the way the car looks. Yes, it may not be everyone's cup of tea, but I really like the design, especially this Panda Stormtrooper Turbo S. Oh, and by the way, it's called the Turbo S because Porsche treats Turbo S as a trim level and not that the car actually has a turbo. So you've got the entry-level Taycan 4S, you've got the mid-level Taycan Turbo, and you've got the top-spec Taycan Turbo S. Anyway, I think Porsche's done a really nice job here with the Taycan's looks. I really did not like the way their other four-door sedan, the Panamera, looks because it's kind of like a goofy 911. With the Taycan, Porsche took their iconic design language and brought it into the modern day. The EV is hunkered down the way a sports car should look, almost like it's ready to explode off the line. The lights have been styled in this beautiful four-point manner that reminds me a lot of the 919 LMP1 racer. or a Mate 20 Pro if you take Huawei's word for it. Then there are the lateral air intakes that look almost like mascara tears, the gorgeous single bar rear lamps, and I even like the 5-spoke rims that give the wheel almost like a white wall look. To me, it's a very different aesthetic than something like a Tesla, especially if you're thinking about like the Cybertruck. Sure, if you look at the specs and the powertrain and the price point, you'd think that the Model S and the Taycan are obvious competitors. In fact, the Model S beats out the Taycan in both range and the 0 to 100 sprint. But I think that being in the Taycan is a very different experience than being in a Model S. Personally, when it comes to Teslas, the car and tech enthusiasts in me often clash. On the one hand, I love how nerdy the Tesla is. It gets software updates that can give it new features. It gets Easter eggs when festive seasons roll around. But I don't lust after it the way I lust after a car, because in my head, it's more like a laptop on wheels. On the Porsche front, that's a very different story. It looks like they did a great job electrifying their sports car DNA, but as a tech product, it's not super appealing. I'm not a fan of having screens like all over the place, and I'm definitely not a fan of the fact that there are LCD screens so you can actually see the backlight bleed for each panel. And it's because of this that I don't think it is or will be a Tesla killer. I think that the people who will be interested in each vehicle will probably be very different, and as a whole, I think this diversity will only make the car world a better place. And that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I wish I could tell you how the Taycan drives, but Porsche didn't let me drive it, so I guess that will have to wait for another video. If you're interested in ordering a Taycan, you can actually place your booking order locally, but the launch in Malaysia will probably only happen like in the first half of 2020. Also, Porsche didn't just fly me out there to check out their new car, they also flew me out there to check out their Porsche X Star Wars fantasy starship called the Tri-Wing S91X Pegasus. They co-designed it with Lucasfilms, and yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. Okay, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think of the Porsche Taycan or their new Starship in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell icon, and you can always find us at our home on soyachinchao.com. Until the next video, I'm Rory and I'll see you. Bye bye.